Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. My name is Paul, the Canadian Snowman, here once again with some more geography. Now, if you're new to this channel, I've done every country in the world on Geography Now up into where did I leave off at? I'm doing every country in the world. He hasn't finished them all yet, but I have done a lot of countries. I'm up to date on my Geography Now videos, and I also do a lot of war videos. So definitely check out those playlists. And yeah, we're on to the difference between Arab countries. I'm definitely really interested in this because, like, I don't know, like, I have no clue what the difference is, and it'd be kind of cool to learn this. So when when I hear, you know, I don't know, when I hear of certain countries, maybe I know like who they're referring to. I don't know, or what they're referring to, or I really have no clue at all. I guess the difference is, I mean, I've done the Geography Now videos, but it'd be kind of cool to have a comparison all in the same video instead of trying to remember what happened in this country's video or this country's video. It would just be really cool just to have it all like broken down and right here. And yeah, and hopefully I'll keep some of that knowledge in my head. So welcome to the channel, everybody who's new, and hit that like and subscribe button, please. I'd really appreciate it. I'm trying to learn cool stuff on this channel. I try to have some fun because these videos are pretty fun, right? Knowledge is power. Anyway, yeah, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. In 3, 2, 1, bam.
Hey everyone, so as you know, we are working on the next few country episodes, which means this is going to have to be a filler week. This week, I was given a topic by you guys that I thought was pretty interesting. What are the differences between Arab countries? A lot of people think all Arabs are the same. No, they're not. Before we get into this though, just want to give a huge shout out to SQUARESPACE.
Like, I got to admit, I'm guilty of that. Like, I just, Arabs, they're all the same, kind of things. It'd just be really cool to know the difference until I really seen kind of the title of the difference between Arab countries. Like, okay, so what's the difference here? Like, I thought it was like all kind of the same thing, but I guess everyone's got their differences. So yeah. Anyways, while we guess jump over this ad. Oh, it's not much of an ad.
Talk more about them later. So anyway, I am not Arab, and I feel like the best way to go about this tricky topic would probably be to have an Arab with me in this episode. So you guys remember my Arab friends from...
Because anytime you talk about like, religion and politics and stuff, it is a slippery slope. Like, you're gonna make somebody mad. You're gonna get the wrong information or whatnot, or some people believe different things. So when you have a different point of view, people get mad at you and all that good stuff. But this is all in good fun, and yeah, we're gonna learn stuff, and hopefully it's accurate. Yeah, I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments, what's not accurate and all that good stuff. So anyways, let's get to it, guys. Forgot what I was doing.
Topic would probably be to have an Arab with me in this episode. So you guys remember my Arab friends from Egypt and the Egypt episode, Mohab.
Hello.
Nice,
Hello.
good to be here. Now, there are a lot of countries that either speak Arabic or have Arabic as a national or recognized language. However, in this episode, we're going to do the 22 nations of the Arab League.
These are the countries that actually get to call the shots for the most part in the Arabic area.
Before we start, little disclaimer.
Yes, everything we're going to be discussing in this episode might be a little bit touchy-feely. There's no universal agreement.
A lot of the stuff we're about to say is also kind of based off of what you guys, the Arab geographies, have said to me. All right, cool?
I say let's begin.
Algeria. Algeria is a Maghreb country, not Maghreb.
Yes. It's R and R. You can't really mention Algeria without talking about soccer. To the point where when these countries play soccer together, things get heated up, and that's an understatement.
Huge rivalry. Size-wise, they are the largest country in all of Africa, and they are the largest Francophone nation in the Arab world. They were under the French at one point. And they speak just like French people. Like
100%.
Almost.
Culture-wise, Algeria is the home of what we know as Rai music. Algerian folk music that became a phenomenon with people like Cheb Khaled, Cheb Mami.
Bahrain. Now, I have been here, and the impression I got is that Bahrain is kind of like the secret Dubai of the Middle East, and it's also kind of like Saudi Arabia's girlfriend.
They don't have any rivalry with any other countries. They are very stable economically.
Very open-minded and liberal. They even appointed a Jewish female ambassador to their government, which is pretty much unheard of for pretty much any Arab country.
Yeah, that's what I'm really kind of drawing the interest in, like just the different views each country has, like I'm sure some countries are more open to like new things and whatnot, and some countries are just going to be a little bit more to keep in tradition and stuff like that. I guess best way to say it, kind of thing. So they'll definitely be interesting. And like I said, a few of these countries, like a couple of you just talked about. I'm sorry, I can't even remember their names. Uh, Algeria and stuff. Yeah, like they were done like early on in my Geography Now series. I was like 7, 8 months ago. So yeah, a lot of the information is kind of like been lost, So, anyways, back to the show.
They have the money, but they're not really being cocky about it.
Yeah.
But they do know that they have the money, so they conduct themselves
really?
in that way.
Mohab, what do you know about the Comoros?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, very few people in the Arab world know anything about the Comoros Islands. They are the smallest nation in the Arab League with only about 800,000 people. They actually speak 3 languages, Comorian, French, and Arabic. They do have a little bit more of like a black East African culture applied to them.
That would be like the strange extended family kind of cousin that you never met growing up.
Djibouti. Yeah, the Arabs don't really pay too much attention to Djibouti either, partially because only about 5% of the country identifies as Arab, even though they speak Arabic. Basically, they're known as being Ethiopia's only access to the sea.
Djibouti would be the country that who shows up to the party, sits quietly, sips his drink, leaves early because he has work early in the morning. Like a wallflower of sorts.
Yeah, he's like the wallflower of the Arab party. And now we reach Egypt.
Oh yeah.
Egypt is basically the hub, the godfather of the Arab world, the most populated one with over 100 million people.
Because that's the problem. That's the problem. The 100 million of Egyptians live in a little under 5% of the land.
Heavily concentrated.
Very much so. So this is the thing about Egyptians. When the revolution started in 2011 and people were dying in the streets, guess what? You find that people are just making memes and jokes about it because this has been always the way Egyptians cope with sadness and tragedy.
Through dark comedy.
Dark comedy. You can imagine soccer in Egypt exactly the same way you would imagine soccer in Brazil.
Dark comedy. See, I can. That's kind of cool to know because obviously I'm sure a lot of people take that the wrong way, but everyone deals with grief and controversy different than others. So like you gotta laugh stuff off sometimes is probably just the best way to do it.
You can imagine soccer in Egypt exactly the same way you would imagine soccer in Brazil. We might not have a soccer on the flag like in Brazil, but it's like people religiously follow their teams.
If the Arab world was a high school, Egypt would kind of be like the really popular kid, maybe not the smartest or richest, but
the most popular.
The most popular.
Yes.
Everybody's paying attention. Iraq. Probably won't find too many Iraqi people outside of Iraq. They kind of generally stay in their country, except for the ones that are not Arab, like Kurdish people or Assyrians, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The country is known for having the heaviest population of Shia.
In the Arab world.
In the Arab world. I would say that most Arabs, we don't have a whole lot of intake from that country, which is very unfortunate. They know Iraq. It's not a small country by any means.
Recent controversies just kind of like, it's just like that's all they're known for. I guess you could kind of say Iraq is kind of like the goth kid of the Arab.
Yeah, so I guess everyone's kind of stayed in Iraq, which is kind of interesting to me. Because obviously, with recent wars they've had there, I thought maybe a lot of Iraqis would have been like displaced, amongst other Arab countries. But I guess that's not the case. Everyone they're kind of like hunkered down and they love where they live, and yeah, I guess that's just how it is.
Known for. I guess you could kind of say Iraq is kind of like the goth kid of the Arab world.
That's a very accurate depiction.
Jordan! The one everybody kind of wants to be friends with, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much every Arab country can be friends with them. They're kind of like the Wisconsin of the Arab world.
So when it comes to Jordan and Lebanon, there is no way on earth you're going to be able to differentiate between the different dialects. Both countries would be kind of offended when you say this because they tell you, oh, no, we do not sound the same.
It's like when you say the Australians and the New Zealand Kiwis sound the same, they would be like, no, we don't, we don't. Kuwait. They kind of went on like a bad blind date.
It's kind of like Canadians and Americans. We're not the same. I get it.
sound the same, they would be like, no, we don't. Kuwait. They kind of went on like a bad blind date with Iraq and they just really don't want to talk about it anymore. Yeah. So Kuwait is kind of like the rich older sister who is part of like a very exclusive country club. Really hard to be a Kuwaiti citizen, even if you're born there. And even if you are born, it only applies if your dad is Kuwaiti.
And then you have 20 years to be staying in the country, and I guess...
Yeah, you have to prove that you've rendered service, and what else? You have to speak Arabic.
Muslim.
Most likely Muslim.
It would be that fancy schmancy country club in Bel Air.
Exclusive country club of the Arab world.
Very much so.
Yeah. Next one, Lebanon.
Party!
Lebanon is the party capital of the Arab world.
It really is.
Yes. They are the most religiously diverse nation in all of the Arab world. There's like 18 recognized religious communities, and their government system even requires leaders from each community to represent them.
I'm not trying to be offensive, but Lebanese people, I've met so many Lebanese people, and they are delightful, but they have a little bit of toot. Let's just put it that
Attitude?
way. Yes, they do. They provide some of the finest, most prolific singers of any Arabic country. Arabic, French, English, it's all mixed up. Baba Ghanouch, Fattoush, Labna.
Oh my gosh, that Manaish stuff.
Manaish.
Oh my god, I love that. It's like Arab pizza.
Okay, here's a funny fact. I have yet to see, on a scale from 1 to 10, a 7 Lebanese person. I've not, they're all 9s and 10s, but they're just really attractive, good-looking people.
Libya. Yeah. As mentioned in the Libya episode, they're the only Arab country that kind of speaks Italian-ish, because they were under the Italians at one point. So, I don't know. I mean, what do you think about Libyan people?
Really kind, really understanding. They love to laugh, believe it or not, just much like Egyptians. They like to learn the Egyptian dialect. Some of them actually nail it. And they're just good people.
It's just unfortunate, kind of like Iraq. Just unfortunate circumstances have kind of put this title on them that they didn't ask for, but...
Correct.
Mauritania. Yeah.
As we're going along, you guys can definitely, like, let me know, like, your opinion if you're from these countries, of these other countries, in the comments. If he's pretty dead on so far, of his take on these countries. So I think it's definitely amusing, really, the differences already kind of between countries. Anyways.
Kind of put this title on them that they didn't ask for, but...
Correct.
Mauritania! Yeah, it's not talked about too much either. They aren't a super popular one, but one thing that they're known for is that they take Islam very seriously. They're pretty conservative.
They are deemed also to be one of the most countries that would be memorizing, like, the whole Quran.
Oh, yeah.
Huge portions
Quran
of Quran
memorizers.
And Islamic poets as well.
Intellectuals that live in the sparsely populated sandy areas with lots of wind. That's probably how they get inspired to write poetry. I don't know.
So they're like more of the traditionalists. They kind of take, I guess, every word from the Quran and take it to heart and don't like to change anything. Sorry, I'm not very familiar, with Arabic, obviously. So, and then there's other countries, I guess, more laid back and kind of lenient on it. Like, I'm not Christian either, but I obviously do know more about Christianity and how, like, the different types of Christianity, a lot more lenient, the other ones are more strict. So I guess it's kind of like a similar kind of thing. They're like kind of very into, all the details kind of thing there, right?
Sandy areas with lots of wind. That's probably how they get inspired to write poetry. I don't know.
That quite Shaolin monk just sitting on a rocking chair and just writing. That's really what Mauritania is.
The quiet monk sitting alone in the desert. Morocco! This is the most Berber or Amazigh influenced country in the entire Arab world.
They're Arabic. Even if you're a native speaker, it's very, very hard to understand.
They have the weirdest accent, right?
Incredibly strong.
It's kind of like what Chile is to the Spanish speaking world.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's dead on. I mean, they are considered an Arabic country, but are they really?
So what happened, if the Arab world was a family, how would you kind of place Morocco?
Comfortable, financially comfortable uncle stands up in dinner and gives that big speech. You couldn't really understand what he was talking about.
He's like the guy that shows up, he's like, hey, okay.
Oh, cheers, cheers,
Cheers, yeah.
yeah.
Oman.
So when you say Oman, is actually mother. in Arabic. It's like the old mother or the old grandma who's really, really wise and really likes to keep things traditional. Like just culture and family and just...
The grandma of the Arab world.
Correct.
Okay.
I would say it could be easily the friendliest or the second. No heat, no fights, nothing.
Yeah, Oman is kind of untouchable. Arab countries don't want to go in and like...
I actually remembered that about Oman because I've done that country, and this definitely rings a bell. You know, the old grandmother thing. You know, so it's definitely interesting. And I'm kind of curious if the Oman Geography Now video was recorded after this video. I'm kind of curious on the date difference here.
Fights, nothing.
Yeah, Oman is kind of untouchable. Arab countries don't want to go in and like cause any trouble. When you go there, it's kind of like a travel back in time. Like the people,
many of the cities,
they still wear the same clothing from like hundreds of years ago.
Correct. I would say if it ain't broken, why fix it?
Yeah, Oman, don't fix it. It doesn't need to be fixed.
Nope.
Palestine. Oh boy. That's a
go.
little confusing because they are still considered part of the Arab League, but in terms of actual real legislation, it's kind of like in a limbo state. So it's weird. Yeah, it's kind of like a lot of Palestinians have told me that like a lot of Arab countries kind of stand in solidarity with Palestine, but they're kind of careful not to invest too much into it because two things: they kind of want to keep Palestine as that poster child.
People do not have the resources or the time to just get out of their own homes and go somewhere else to mind someone else's problem. You can't use my washer dryer unless I actually finish using it, and as luck would have it.
Otherwise, in terms of
I stand with Palestine. Anyways.
Unless I actually finish using it, and as luck would have it.
Otherwise, in terms of Palestinian culture and everything, I was told they invented kanafe, my favorite Middle Eastern state. I don't know, Wahab. When you meet a Palestinian person, what do you think?
How did you get here? So, seriously, I'm not even joking. They have travel documents, but they don't have passports because it's not a state. So you immediately just think, okay, there must be a story. Every single time you meet a Palestinian outside of Palestine, more often than not, when they leave, they just immediately seek asylum.
Qatar. When I say Qatar, what are some things that immediately pop in your head?
I'm not talking about the people. I am not talking about the people. Immediately, the two huge topics that come to mind would be the Muslim Brotherhood and Al Jazeera network. I don't know what happened over the past few years, but it's not one of those topics that you watch any Arabic channel or Egyptian media handling the topic of Qatar with grace.
It's funny because, Qatar has like the highest expat ratio out of any country in the world at like almost 80, I think over 80%. So it's actually...
That's right, because I don't think it wasn't too recent. I do remember that, but I've done that country, and yes, expat thing, there's a lot of them, and and like the working conditions aren't very good. I just remember, a bunch of that kind of stuff in that episode, but yeah.
Expat ratio out of any country in the world at like almost 80, I think over 80%. So it's actually kind of rare to find a native Qatari citizen. Like they're all hiding in the penthouse suites of the building.
And it's like so hard to get like become a citizen there and that stuff.
Things it's like
very exclusive.
You can't find them. It's so hard.
And they did score the World Cup
2022.
Oh wow!
I actually really liked Doha when I visited.
Nice.
I'll say like I
Had a
loved
good time there.
It was great. Like Souk Waqif looked really cool. It's a really cool spot you can visit. Yeah, but at the same time, I wasn't immersing myself with the entire underlying spectrum of politics and what's going on. It's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But I just liked my stay. That's all I can say.
Well, good.
Saudi Arabia,
Big Daddy.
The big daddy of the Arab world. They even have Arab in their name. Basically, when I was there, a lot of assumptions I had were kind of dispelled. You can check them out in the video here. But basically, to outsiders and most Arabs, Saudi Arabia is kind of seen the same way. It's like money, oil, and religion, right? Yeah.
I mean, it's really, really the hub of Islam.
It is.
Al-Madinah al-Munawwara, Mecca. They have Al-Shahada, La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah, on their flag.
You said that so fast.
Yeah, it's...
However, you also do kind of notice that they are slowly trying to progress into the 21st century.
They have been passing laws over the past 10 years.
What is that going to look like? We'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
Time will tell.
Yeah. Somalia. This is probably the blackest Africanist Arab country, right?
It really is.
Yeah. In terms of culture, they're...
Yeah, in Somalia, Somaliland, it's definitely a controversial subject. Is it two countries? Is it one country? Because I know when I did that country, a lot of people in the comments were saying we're one and we're not one. I guess the people who live in different parts there were saying, if it was one country or two countries. So it was definitely interesting to see the different opinions.
Blackest, Africanist Arab country, right?
It really is.
Yeah. In terms of culture, they're pretty I don't want to say similar to Ethiopia and Eritrea, but they do have like similar food.
I'm not trying to offend anyone, I promise. It's just a little bit funny fact. Growing up in Egypt, Somalians or the word Somali would kind of connotate the butt of most of the jokes in Egypt.
Oh, so it's
but it's an endearing. It's not a racism thing. But you don't go.
I get it because if anyone's watching this from Canada, like there's a bunch of Newfie jokes. If people from Newfoundland, like it's not making fun. It's just jokes. It's not trying to make people mad or nothing.
Oh, so
it's but it's an endearing. It's not a racism thing. But you don't go there.
You don't go there, but you still use a people group in the context. Very rich in culture, though. Very colorful, vibrant traditions and customs. Yeah,
their colors are insane.
Oh yeah, Somali people are very colorful. Sudan
had that thing going on with Egypt. They have very, very. First of all, it's the borderline. Yeah. We share the same border.
Close with Egypt.
Yeah. They were under an alliance at some point. They were actually the same exact country.
Anything that happens with the Nile in Egypt will affect Sudan.
And vice versa. Think about it this way. You have a brother and you love them so much, but you don't have a problem having a fist fight with them from time to time.
Syria. Okay, Mohab. What comes to mind when I say Syria?
Assad and ISIS.
Obviously.
So you can understand. The country is just connotating to a lot of dark black terrorism.
Like, again, they didn't ask for it, but it's just kind of what happens.
Yeah, that's I guess the kind of thing I hear on the news. Well, I don't really watch news at all, but I guess the headlines I see, with Syria aren't the best. Well, I haven't really seen many lately, but yeah.
Dark black terrorism.
Like, again, they didn't ask for it, but it's just kind of what happens. Syrians are kind of like the people that show up and they have the craziest stories in the group. Pretty much. That's how you would probably,
And everyone cries.
But if you just meet them as people, I'm sure they're just people. It's just there's always a story with a Syrian. Tunisia, the artsy person of the Arab world. They were voted the freest country in the Arab world as well. Yeah, they're known for having a lot of cool crafts. People know them for their carpets and their carvings. It's just like they love art.
When you mentioned Tunisia, what?
I want one of those rugs. Like, I don't know what those rugs are called. Like, I was gonna say air rug, but I think those things are really cool. I want to get one, but like, I don't know if you actually get a real one if you order one online, or you just kind of get. Because I'm afraid if you order one online, you just get sent like a cheap knockoff or something, So I'm afraid to even order one.
People know them for their carpets and their carvings. It's just like they love art.
When you mention Tunisia, what comes to mind, again, as an Arab? Algeria. Even though it's a completely different country, but there's so much similarity. And if you're not really well versed in history, you would not really know a whole lot of difference between the two countries.
French also speaking people, I believe. They speak French, right? Yeah.
They do.
Yeah. And they also have really good healthcare, which we explained in the Libya episode.
Nice.
Lots of Libyans go to Tunisia for healthcare. The UAE, United Arab Emirates. Now it's interesting because they're called the Emirates, but it's actually ruled by sheikdoms, 7 sheikhs. They kind of unified the whole country. So technically there's like no royal family, but I mean, they're so super rich. It's kind of like,
it really is, but not really. The country played their cards right. They actually knew, and they still do know, at some point we're going to be running out of oil. So what else to do? Let's turn this into some modern marvel.
25 years ago, it was just like a fishing village on the desert.
Correct.
That's it. But then like late 90s, just like exploded. When I was there, it was very crowded, so many people were trying to look at the Burj Khalifa, and it's just like I couldn't find a single, like, what do you call it, like a souk, like a market. No. I couldn't find a single one. Yeah, I went
maybe in other Emirates, but not in Abu Dhabi or Dubai.
Definitely not. No, it was like I couldn't find anything traditional. Everything was just glass and metal. In conclusion, what would you say?
I think it would be the rich VIP booth. that you see at a club in Vegas.
And finally, Yemen. So most people kind of know this country as having a little bit of a conflict with Saudi Arabia. There is kind of like a Shia-ish minority. It's weird because they actually kind of have like almost the exact same population as Saudi Arabia, but in a smaller concentrated area.
Delicious food,
Okay.
very, very unique cuisine, very rich in protein. Steak, lamb, and chicken.
Cool thing about Yemen, they are definitely known for Socotra
Yummy.
Island, which is all the plants are only unique to that one island. You can't find them anywhere else on Earth. It's a little hard to get there though because of the Somali pirates, but it's very cool. So Matt, what would you say Yemen is kind of like in the big, broad Arab family?
I would say someone very, very comfortable in the shadow.
They're like the emo kid.
Yes.
And that is it. All the 22 nations of the Arab League. Woohoo,
Wow.
we did it. High five. We
Absolutely.
probably offended half of everybody, but oh well.
Reading those comments are going to be fun.
Yeah. And before we go, I gotta do this little quick shout out for Squarespace. Thank you, Squarespace, for
Oh my God.
sponsoring this video. For those of you
Sorry, Squarespace. But yes, yeah. I'd be very surprised, like, if the comments are all everyone agrees with everything. And I might not get any comments at all. But you know, if you want to comment and place your opinion or like change something here or whatnot, please leave it below. Because I know like this is his opinion on everything, and so I'm sure everyone does have their opinion, their different views and everything, you know. And so yeah, if you have yours and you want to tell me, feel free to comment below and all that good stuff. Definitely interesting. Wow, they flew through all those countries and pretty quickly, but it seems for the most part, you know, everyone kind of gets along. You know, there's kind of a few black sheep in the family there, and but still they're just not really included much. And all that good stuff, and a lot of advancement going on, you know, but also a lot of, you know, also countries that are just fine with how they are, and they'll let, you know, other countries do their advanced thing and let them do it, and they're just happy with, you know, being very traditional. So anyways, guys, please hit that like and subscribe button below. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I didn't offend anybody. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised if I did, but yeah, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll catch you guys in future videos doing administrative divisions. I think that's what this series is called. And I guess we're on to South Africa Explained. I guess we're doing that tomorrow. I mean, going back and forth between two different series. I'm doing 100 Years War right now. I do a lot of war videos, so if you're new, definitely check out those playlists. I'd appreciate it. They're a lot of fun. And yeah, catch you guys in future videos. Peace. I'm out.